Okay, so today I'm going to do my personal top 10 R.E.M songs. And after that, I'm gonna dig a little deeper into several discussions about this legendary American band. In 1982, four youngsters from Athens, Georgia, bound by a shared affection for punk, released the EP Chronic Town. In the early 80s, we were living the dream. Four guys in a van hitting the road, conquering clubs one night at a time. That's all it is, the gear and a gun. Deliberately rejecting the 80s trend of polished synths, they were living on a $2 per person per day budget, yet they would sing about living for 1 million years. Combining 70s CBG punk influence and Southern Americana. They didn't have conventional music education, nor did they know they would change the rock scene forever. Fast forward to 1991. 10 years after their debut single Radio Free Europe, R.E.M released the album Out of Town, which sold 18 million records worldwide and won 3 Grammy Awards. 1991 was not only an important year for R.E.M, but for the whole alt rock scene. Together with Nirvana's Nevermind, My Bloody Valentine's Loveless, alternative rock achieved magnificent breakthrough aesthetically, culturally, and commercially. So I want to talk about Michael Stipe as a member in R.E.M.
Kind of collaborative process when you're writing material between you.
Well, what Peter and Mike do is they'll write songs separately and then together. They'll present them to me, and they'll present me with probably twice the amount of material that I need.
So Michael Stipe is someone who provides all the lyrics and melodies after the other members have already wrote the music. In the early days, until Document, the first 7 years of the band, I saw mystery as a crucial element of seduction. Michael Stipe described himself as an insecure and immensely shy person who also kind of private about writing his own issues. So the early R.E.M days lyrics approach was kind of vague and confusing. However, I think Michael Stipe is really good at presenting a certain visual image and evoking a peculiar mood by the use of imagery. This is the saddest dogs I ever seen. Personally, I find Half a World Away to be really beautiful in a spiritual, poetic, Terrence Malick kind of way.
This could be the saddest dusk you've ever seen.
Half a World Away also paves the way for R.E.M's next album, Automatic for the People, so that kind of songs that convey serenity and serendipity, a sense of wonder and awe. Do you want to hear a secret? I once cried to this song on a perfectly happy day, actually. Sometimes when you cry, it's not because you are sad, but because things are more beautiful than you expected. R.E.M's third studio album, Fables with Reconstruction, produced by Joy Boyd, who has also produced for Nick Drake before, is my current favorite R.E.M album. Actually, my favorite R.E.M album changed all the time. At one point it was A Reckoning, at one point it was Document, Murmur, also New Adventures in Hi-Fi. Maybe because it's winter right now, I'm really digging this kind of lethargic, murky, kind of mousy kind of sound. If William Faulkner needs background music, I think this album is my suggestion. When recording Fables Reconstruction in England, R.E.M members were unwell and unhappy. Also, in this album, some of the songs have less of this distinctive verse and chorus and with a slower tempo. Some of the songs kind of remind me of The Smiths. Yeah, so the early IRS period of R.E.M had some kind of mellow, rootsy ballad songs. although not everyone is fan of this kind of style.
Time after time, it's my least favorite song. Time after time was my least favorite song.
I ain't a fan. If Chronic Town and Murmur were like free-spirited 20-something bohemians on the road, then Automatic for the People are like settling into a middle-class suburban mansion in the 30s. I was thinking a lot about that. My grandparents were at the end of their lives, and I had a sick dog. I had also spent the better part of that decade wondering whether I was HIV positive when realizing finally I could get anonymous testing after 1987, and knowing that I was healthy and that I hadn't really dodged more than one bullet. A pensive, nocturnal mood pondering about mortality, existential fear, rewinding the past and a nostalgia for innocence. In short, à la recherche du temps perdu. But in my opinion, you have to give the song Night Swimming a chance. It's such a beautiful song. It can be like a film score. Actually, if you play songs, an instrumental version of songs from Out of Time and Automatic for the People, they are quite nice to listen to. Supposedly, Kurt Cobain wanted the next record to be pretty ethereal, acoustic, like Automatic for the People. Also, Automatic for the People was famously one of the last record Kurt Cobain was just listening to before his death. So at first I was going to pick Laughing, and then I thought, wow, I remember I like Shaking Through a lot too. So then I went to R.E.M's Facebook group and asked a question, Shaking Through or Laughing? So at the end, the result was a tie. And 14 people answered Laughing and 14 people answered Shaking Through. A couple said both. One said Laughing Through. One said the verses of Laughing, the chorus of Shaking Through, which I kind of agree. Personally, I quite like the interplay of the instrumentals between the song Laughing. It's so beautiful. In general, I find Shaking Through to be a more emotive song, more affectious. Like Laughing is more detached, like the most of the album Murmur. But really, this is like picking chocolate ice cream or whatever pizza. It's so difficult. What's your pick between Shaking Through and Laughing? We wanted to make records that were timeless, and we rejected anything that would make them sound dated. When we made Murmur and Reckoning, every band in the world was using Yamaha DX7, which we despised. We didn't want to sound like that, because when you hear it now, you think, oh, 1983. So there's a band called the Feelies who were playing at CVGB in the late 70s, and they have had a huge influence on R.E.M. The Feelies album Crazy Reasons in 1980 and R.E.M's album Murmur from 1983. Both albums definitely share similarities, and you can hear the influences. For example, the post-punk nervous drumming and the Jangle-pop sound, and the kind of cool, mysterious personas. And also, Peter Buck co-produced the Feelies album The Good Earth, which I think is pretty cool, and I really like the album as well, the Good Earth. And in 2013, the Feelies did a cover of R.E.M's song Shaking Through. If R.E.M tried to sound timeless with Murmur, they certainly achieved that. Also, there is a hazy ethereality in Shaking Through that is not quite found after the album Murmur. The album Document from 1987 was the first R.E.M record that went platinum, and the last R.E.M record released by independent label, IRS, before R.E.M joined the major label, Warner Brothers. In 1987, December, Rolling Stone reissued a cover photo of R.E.M as America's best rock and roll band. In the album Documents, R.E.M sound bolder, bigger, and tougher. They were ready to say goodbye to the college town shows and embrace stadiums. They no longer took an outsider, escapist approach on the world, but they engaged in political arguments and world affairs. Also, fire! In the song The One I Love is like the most U2 moment on R.E.M's career ever. And later on, also R.E.M became one of the most publicly vocal bands.
It's the end of the year as we know it. I feel
Fine.
Not only is It's the End of the World as we know it a great pop song, I also like how it expresses dissatisfaction and irony with a very cheerful tone. In the context of today, this song has also aged very well. Every time something catastrophic happens, this song becomes a phenomenon again. New Adventures in Hi-Fi from 1996 was the 10th R.E.M studio album and the last album with a complete R.E.M lineup before the drummer Bill Berry left. New Adventures in Hi-Fi is influenced by Bruce Springsteen's album Nebraska, as well with a similar album cover, shot by Michael Stipe in Nevada. This album is also Peter Buck's and Michael Stipe's favorite R.E.M record. It was written during the Monster Tour in 1995, and it's also a bit messy, just like the volatility of touring. R.E.M members were often transitioning between the adrenaline of high on stage and the fatigue of traveling, between arena crowds and the solitary rundowns of hotel rooms at night. It's like trading the loneliness of a crowd for the loneliness of an empty room. They are just different variants of a single alienation. I like songs that are about motion and traveling, and the song Leave is the longest song in R.E.M's discography, and the aggressive alarm hooks and Michael Stipe moaning Leave creates an interesting juxtaposition that is exactly the opposite of my least favorite R.E.M songs, like Stand, Shiny Happy People. Like, I enjoyed those songs, but I don't love them. The guitar riff of Driver Ace is among my favorite R.E.M moments for sure. Stellar like a stellar riff. I can write that kind of stuff in my sleep. I can write Driver Ace every day of the week. We all can. In rehearsal, it's always easy to fall back on a mid-tempo minor key rock thing, and we try not to rely on that. But Simple is great. This song, I don't know why, kind of remind me of David Lynch's Lost Highway. A sense of menace and trying to escape. The producer of the album Life's Rich Pageant, Gaiman, advised Michael Stipe he can't just sing about nothing. Life's Rich Pageant is also the first album that R.E.M started to deliberately convey a certain message. Life's Rich Pageant and Document are the transitional albums of R.E.M breaking into mainstream from the underground. Michael Stipe claimed For Me and Country Feedback are as his favorite R.E.M songs. Normally I despise perfect as a word, not only because I think it's vain and means nothing, but also I think nothing is really perfect. But for the song For Me, the sublime chorus, Mike Mills' background vocals, the combination of hope and despair. You just can't make it better. It's a perfect song. C'est parfait. Perfeito. However, perfection doesn't necessarily mean your favorite. The very essence of music is really about how it speaks to you personally. My favorite R.E.M songs has always been Harbor Codes from their second album, Reckoning. There are many faces of R.E.M, the gloomy, the mysterious and political, the melancholic, the obscure and artsy, the aggressive and angry. But my favorite R.E.M is when they joyfully, proudly not making any sense, with helplessly catchy melodies. Where's my Harbor Codes? I can't go outside without it. This is my Harvard coat, I found it. Yes! I find that in China, the alternative rock fans of my generation tend to ignore R.E.M. Yet other alternative bands of that era, such as The Smiths, The Cure, Pixies, Jesus Mary Chain, still hold a cult following among those who are quite familiar with the discography. I hardly meet anyone who bothers to dig through R.E.M's discography at all, and it has been joked about a couple times that I listen to that rock. And several have told me that they found R.E.M to be flat and boring. And I looked on the internet. I researched a little bit about this topic, and I found that it seems that it's not only in China is the case. It's that young people, in general, not only in China or in America as well, they don't listen to R.E.M. Yet R.E.M haven't retained the outsider cachet that their one-time peers in the Space and the Cure still hold, and their vintage t-shirts have yet to become staples of student attire. I assume the teenagers these days are mostly just familiar with the song R.E.M by Ariana Grande and the cosmetic brand. When Morrissey had a strong presence, a persona, Jesus Mary Chain had, well, haircuts. The replacements had blue-collar catharsis, and Pixies had playful surrealism and screamy vocals. Maybe, to a certain extent, R.E.M are indeed less immediately impressionable than some other bands. This is particularly true if one doesn't notice Bill Berry's eyebrows or Michael Stipe's eyeshadow, and especially if one's impression of R.E.M stay within the album out of time and automatic for the people. Great albums, but they are more folk rock, acoustic than edgy. R.E.M overall appear as a wholesome band. They are not sexy, melodramatic, or dangerous. They look and dress normal. They don't glam up like rock stars. They were once the biggest band in the world, and people claim them to be a voice of generation. Interestingly, Michael Stipe nowadays preferred naming himself as a pop star. I think most R.E.M fans are older and have lived through the time when music was mostly shared by cassettes, CDs, MTV music videos, radio plays, etc. So if you have any thoughts regarding why R.E.M are more overlooked today than before, please comment down below. I would like to know about your thoughts. As a band, R.E.M's career is just like a dream. Every album before Bill Berry left is great. That is like 10 albums in 13 years, which is a very rare, consistent, long-lasting run in pop music history. They not only pioneered of rock, but also have achieved mainstream success, which Hüsker do, The Replacements, Sonic Youth, etc., and many others didn't. Many defining essential acts have been influenced by R.E.M, such as Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, Pavement, Radiohead, The National, etc. Critics loved them and people danced to Shiny Happy People and cried to Everybody Hurts. Alternative fans loved them too. Everything just seems too good to be true, but the dream is real. R.E.M seemed to have dealt with fame and success in a level-headed way, which Kurt Cobain admired. God, they are the greatest, and they have dealt with success like saints, and keep delivering great music. R.E.M provided an example that an indie band could sign to a major label and achieve mainstream success without becoming a sellout or losing their identity, which musicians tend to be afraid of. Members leaving, moving to a major label, becoming successful and rich, splitting up, every step is a potential for drama, and R.E.M just always managed to eschew it. When asked how R.E.M can maintain as a unit for so long, Peter Buck said, basically, it's money, ego, and drugs. If you know that from the start, then you avoid the traps. Granted, the bands did struggle a little after Bill Berry left. The albums after that are okay, but not great. Also, the remaining 3 members also have had some unhappy moments. Still, no visible drama anyway. R.E.M also famously practiced democracy in songwriting process and shared songwriting credits. However, some might criticize the lack of drama as R.E.M being boring rock stars. But what I know might just be the tip of the iceberg. There are many things about the band, good or bad, that I don't know, and probably never will. What I know is what they want to show. It's a great song, Losing My Religion, and it's not me trying to be edgy or something. I just generally have like 20 or 30 more R.E.M songs that I prefer. And actually, when preparing this video, I re-listened all the albums again, and I found out a couple songs that I like and I didn't really pay attention to before, such as Let Me In, Untitled, Radio Song, Me and Honey, etc. etc. Also, there are quite some songs that I like a lot, but it's only 10 songs, my personal top 10, such as Talk About the Passion, Goya Hoga, a lot of others. I love this band. Okay, so that's about my personal top 10 R.E.M songs. Feel free to list your personal top 10 R.E.M songs in the comment down below, as well as your thoughts about R.E.M's legacy as a band, or your personal story with R.E.M, etc. Whatever you want to say, really. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, give a like please. Thank you very much. Also, you can subscribe for more videos about arts and culture in general. Okay, thanks for watching again. See you. Bye bye. That's me in the corner. 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 That was just a dream, just a dream.